Starting with some roll downs. So bring your hips over your ankles. Lean your weight forward into your toes. The arms will hang forward slightly. Let's feel the kneecaps lift. The knees can be softly bent. And then start to round over through the head, the neck, the shoulders, coming out and over, keeping your hips over your ankles, lifting the belly. When you need to, bend the knees and let the pelvis round over a little more. Hang here as you inhale. As you exhale, lift the belly, lift the hip bones, slide the sit bones down towards the heels, the back of the thighs draw in, and just slowly stake the spine one vertebra at a time, keeping the weight forward into the ball of the foot, the big toe. We're going to do 3 more of those. So going out and over, feeling each vertebrae release as you come over, keeping the hips over the ankles, the belly lifting, and the spine rounding, hanging through the arms. Take a breath in and exhale. Lift the belly, the hip bones. Start to stack each vertebrae up, drawing the tailbone down towards the floor. And just slowly feeling the spine unwind, the shoulders widen, the crown comes to the ceiling. Weight still forward into the ball of the foot, the big toe, rolling down. Feeling each vertebrae release. Hanging the arms, really feel the back of the thighs drawing in to hold the legs steady. As you come up, lift the belly, the hip bones, draw the tailbone down towards the floor. Feel the stretch go right through the back of the knees, and the spine unfolds all the way back up to the top. 1 more. Check your weights forward. Start to round over and down. Keep the legs really strong and steady as you round the spine over. Then the pelvis starts to round. Bend the knees if you need to. Hang at the bottom, take a breath in. And then lift the belly, the hip bones, the tailbone draws down. Stack each vertebrae up. Coming all the way back up to stand. Just give your shoulders a little roll here. Bring them forward, up, back and around. And then take them the other way, back, up, forward and around. Good, just give your legs a little bit of a shake out. So come down onto the mat, lay onto your back. Just bring the arms down beside you, the heels out from your sit bones, about a fist width apart. Feel the upper back nice and heavy, the shoulders wide and heavy. Let's take a nice long deep breath in to the toes, to the fingers. And as you breathe out, feel weight in the back of the ribs, little space under the lower back, and the weight of the pelvis heavy towards your tailbone. Knees are about a fist width apart, same with the feet. Feel the rise of the belly as you inhale, leaving the spine still. And as you breathe out, just drawing the belly in and down towards the spine without moving the spine or the pelvis or squeezing the buttocks or the thighs. As you breathe in, belly rises. And as you breathe out, just feel like the hip bones draw together, the belly firms, follows the breath out, draws down. Just do a couple more of those. Just really settling into your center, still feeling that pelvis heavy towards your tailbone, the back ribs heavy, the shoulders wide. So from here, we're just going to go into a couple of stability exercises. So feeling the weight heavy towards the tailbone, the left knee stays towards the ceiling. You're going to breathe in and open the right leg out to the side. Keep the pelvis still, hip bones draw together. Exhale, belly firms and draws the leg back into center. Breathe in as you open the leg out to the side, back of the left hip's nice and heavy. Belly draws down and the leg comes back into center. Just go at your own pace. So you're looking for stability here. You could leave the fingertips resting on the hip bones. Imagine a glass of water balanced on your knee. You're wanting to open that right thigh out to the side, moving the ball in the hip socket without the hips moving, without the actual pelvis moving. So last one on that right side, bring the leg in, leave the knee towards the ceiling, imagine a glass of water on it, and start to open the left leg out to the side. Pelvis stays completely still and heavy. Roll the leg back in. So feel like most of the work goes on in that lower belly. The hip bones draw towards each other. Roll the ball in the hip socket, and then draw it in by deepening those belly muscles and keeping the weight heavy towards the tailbone. So the spine stays in the same position, and we're just wanting to switch on those deep muscles in the belly. Going to do one more on the side. Feel the belly sink as the leg rolls back in. Going to go into some femur arcs. You can leave your fingertips resting on your hip bones if you like. So to lift the right leg, tail heavy, belly firms or the hip bones draw together, and the leg floats up. Feel the weight heavy towards the end of the spine. As the thigh bone arcs away, the hip bones draw together, and you can feel that firming of the belly. And then you feel the weight of the tailbone arc the leg back up. So you're just rolling that thigh bone away, holding the pelvis steady by drawing those hip bones together. The abdominal muscles will come on, and then arcing the leg back up. You're going to do 3 more on this side. See if you can switch off the crease of the leg. If it's biting in there or grabbing, go into imprint. So sink the lower back in the floor and the belly draws down, keeps the lower back in the floor, and you should find it switches off that hip flexor. Great, so we're going to lower that leg down to the floor. So you're either imprinted, spine in the floor, or in neutral. Feel those abdominals firm to float the leg up. Keep the crease of the leg soft. Arc the thigh bone away. Feel those abdominals firm even more. And then roll it back up. Keep the pelvis even, stable, still. Keep the spine still. Back of the shoulders are heavy. Feel as that thigh bone rolls away from you. Those abdominals have to firm to hold your pelvis still. Imprint the spine if it starts to grab into the crease of the leg. One more on this side. Float the leg up and then smoothly lower it down to the floor. You're going to come into some bridging from here, so arms down beside you. Melt the lower back into the floor. Start to feel the tailbone heel up. Keep heeling up through the buttocks. Sit bones squeeze together. Belly stays down. Bottom ribs stay down and in. Reach long through the tailbone and lift it up towards the ceiling. Really squeezing those sit bones together. Take a breath. And then starting at the top of the spine, start to sink each vertebrae down. Really press them down into the floor. Keep the tailbone reaching long and lifting. Once you get to the small of the back, start to roll into the pelvis. You just let that tailbone come down. Roll right to the end of the spine. And then start to follow the spine up from the tailbone through the sacrum, the small of the back. Buttocks squeeze, sit bones squeeze together as you peel the buttocks off. Keep the pubic bone drawing towards the sternum bone as the tail reaches long. Lift the pelvis as high as you can, lifting that tailbone. Take a breath in. And then start pressing the vertebrae into the floor. Lengthen to the next one as you roll the spine down. Really bring the small of the back into the floor and go all the way to the tailbone. And one more. So if you just focus on feeling each vertebrae on the way up and on the way down, you'll be moving the spine segmentally. At the top, focus on really squeezing those sit bones and lifting the tailbone towards the ceiling, reaching it long at the same time. Feel each vertebrae as you roll down, really sink each one into the floor, lengthen to the next. And roll all the way back down to the tailbone. Hug the knees into the chest, one hand on each knee. Either rock them side to side, softening through the small of the back, or roll them round in a circle, taking them in one direction, or you could do butterfly circles, opening them out to the side and circling them around, moving the legs with the arms. Come back round to centre, lower the legs down to the floor. I'm going to come into some chest lifts. So once again, you could be an imprint here, small of the back and the floor, or in neutral, weight down towards the tailbone. Little space under the lower back. Hands behind the head, thumbs down the side of the neck. Lengthen the neck. Rest it into the hands and lift the elbows so you can see them in the corners of the eyes. Keep the tail nice and heavy. As you breathe out, you're going to peel up the head, slightly pressing it into the hands. Draw the bottom ribs in and down towards the hip bones and really curve up through the upper spine. Lengthen and roll down through each vertebrae. You want to keep the pelvis still, resting in its neutral position. Head slightly presses into the hands as you peel up. The ribs draw in and down, and there's space between the chin and the chest. Sink each vertebrae as you roll down. Slight nod of the chin, slightly press the head back. Feel the ribs close in, reach them down towards the hip bones, and then slowly feel the spine roll down nice and smooth. We're going to do 2 more. Make sure you're not pressing that lower back into the floor unless you are an imprint. The spine stays really still through the small of the back and into the sacrum. Pelvis stays still. Thigh muscles stay relaxed. Buttocks stay relaxed. And roll all the way back down to the floor. Great, release the arms down, just rock the knees gently side to side. So we're just going to come into a little bit of small crisscross here using rotation. We're going to do it one leg at a time, tail's nice and heavy, elbows lift. If you feel the crease of the leg biting, just bring the small of the back and the floor. So we're going to peel up the head, neck and shoulders. Actually, we will do this in imprint. Sink the lower back down, the belly down. Keep the belly down as you float the right leg up to 90. So we're going to do a little twist to the left as the leg extends out, doesn't have to straighten, and then pull, bring yourself back into center. Keep the belly down, smaller the back and the floor, little rotation, leg extends, and bring it back in. So focus on those ribs staying down, pelvis staying heavy. Keep the elbows wide. I'm going to do one more on this side. Belly draws in and down as you come back in. Roll down the head, lower the leg to the floor. Take a breath and do the other side. So peeling up through the head, neck, shoulders, head slightly presses into the hands, ribs draw in and down, lower back sinks in the floor and the belly down. Raise the left leg. We're going to do a little rotation to the right as the left leg extends away, belly pulling in, and then come back to center. So I'm not extending all the way. I really want to feel that belly and the lower spine staying down. I want to keep my bottom ribs in and down. And I want to twist and extend the leg from that really connected center. Yeah, we're going to do 2 more here. Keep the navel drawing to the spine. And roll down the head, lower the leg down to the floor. Release the arms, hug the knees into the chest, and just soften the small of the back and the floor as you rock those knees out. Going to roll over onto the side. We'll just do one on the side. So arm resting out long. Shoulder in line with the hip. Lift the bottom waist away from the floor. Take the hand around the top hip and reach it long. And feel the tailbone reach towards the end of the mat. Hand rests down the floor in front of the chest. Keep the tailbone reaching long. Hover this top leg up. Reach it out long. Keep the waist lifting away from the floor. Lower the leg down to the floor. Bring it back up to the height of the hip. So keep these bottom ribs in, navel towards the spine. And keep the waist really still. So as the leg lowers and lifts, you want to keep that waist still. The bottom waist is lifted. There's space under the lower side of the body. Top leg reaches out nice and long. Yeah, we're going to do one more here. So you should be feeling the buttock down the side of the leg. Going to keep reaching the tail long, fold the leg back in. And then we're going to take it, swing it side to side. So you're going to swing it back, feel the ribs in the belly draw in, hold the spine still. And then you're going to swing the leg forward at the height of the hip, doesn't come past the hip bone. Swing it back, ribs draw in, belly firms to hold the spine still. And then swing it forward, lengthen around through the buttock, the tail reaches long, just come up to the height of the hip. Imagine the legs gliding back and forward over a table. Sink those lower abdominals in to reach the tail long. You're going to do one more here. And then bring it forward. Knee rests over the other knee. Little circles here. Forward, up, back and around. Really anchor your pelvis. Keep it really still. Sweep the ball around inside of the hip socket. You should be feeling your buttock by now. We're going to circle the other way. Go away from you, up towards the ceiling, over and down. Really feel the hips stacked, the bottom hip resting into the floor, the tail reaching nice and long. Last one. Rest it down and pummel into the buttock. Just make a fist or squeeze down through the side of the thigh, round into the buttock. Going to come up and over to the other side. So shoulder and hip in line. Lift the bottom waist. Stack the hips. Take top hand round the hip bone and stretch it out nice and long. Bring these bottom ribs. Make sure they're not popping out. You want to pull them in line with your hip bones. Hand rests on the floor. Hover the top leg up. And then we're going to stretch it out long, so pulling these hip bones together, and then reach for the tail as you fold it in. Feel the hip bones draw together just to stabilize through your pelvis, extend the leg long, and then fold it back in. So make sure that waist is lifting, the ribs are in. Hold that neutral alignment of your spine, and just glide the leg out and in. Going to swing it forward and back, so we're going to swing it back, belly in, bottom ribs in, and then swing it forward. Really reach for your tailbone so it doesn't come forward with you. Knee only comes to the height of the hip. Sweep it back, pull the belly and the ribs in, hold that spine still. Imagine it's gliding forward and back over a table. Good. One more, bring it forward, knee is over the knee, little circles here. Feel the hip bones draw together, the tail reach long, stabilize your pelvis, and circle the ball around inside of the hip. Keep the waist nice and still. Going the other direction, top shoulder relaxes. Just make sure there's no tension around your neck and your throat. You want to be right down in the belly and the buttock. Last one here, waist still lifted. Rest the leg down, bend it forward, and just either pummel out or just squeeze down through the muscles. Last little bit, we're going to finish in some extension. So roll over onto your bellies. We're going to go into dart, so arms down beside you. Wriggle the pelvis away, waist is nice and long, nose just hovering above the floor. Press the pelvis into the floor. Squeeze the sit bones slightly together and reach the tail down towards the heels. Shoulders are nice and wide and the neck is long and the chest is heavy in the floor. Your nose is just hovering. So you're going to take a breath in. As you exhale, You're going to peel up through the upper spine, so lengthen, peel the chest away from the floor, hover the arms up beside the hips, gaze goes slightly forward. Keep pressing the pelvis into the floor as you lengthen and lower back down. Back of the hands come down, nose just above the floor. Keep the pelvis steady, it's like an anchor in the floor. Tail reaches towards the heels. Peel up, breastbone reaches forward, widen through the shoulders, reach back through the fingertips, and then lengthen and lower back down, pelvis still pressing in the floor. We're going to do 3 more. Reach back through the fingertips, widen through the shoulders, sit bones gently squeeze together, find that length through the upper spine, width through the chest, and then lengthen and lower down. As you peel up, you just come into the bottom ribs, feel them sink into the floor. And then just feel that length through the upper spine from those bottom ribs, widening those shoulders, and come all the way back down to the floor. Just rest the head to the side, just take a few breaths here. If you need to, just bend the legs up and gently rock them out side to side. Take the hands around under the head, rest the forehead down onto the hands, relax the shoulders. Once again, bring the pelvis nice and heavy into the floor, sit bones slightly squeezed, tail reaches to heels. Almost feel like you bring the belly away from the floor, making a little tunnel, or you just feel a firmness in your belly. So you don't want to be resting on the belly, you want to be resting back towards the pubic bone. Legs long and straight, shoulders relax and widen. Squeeze into the right buttock crease, reach through the right leg and lift it, really long and straight. Lower the leg down. Squeeze into the left buttock crease, reach and lift, and lower it down. Imagine your legs are like little toothpicks, they can't bend. They just stretch and lift from the front of the hip. As the leg lifts, make sure the front of the hip presses into the floor. All of the muscles of the legs wrap around the bone. One more each side. Press the pelvis down as you squeeze into the buttock crease and raise the legs. This time, lift both legs, just hover them off the floor. Press down through the pelvis and then long legs, little swimming legs. Those 2 little toothpicks going up and down, long and straight. See if you can draw the lower belly away from the floor, making a tunnel. Sit bone squeeze, tail reaches long and the shoulders relax down and wide. Rest the legs down to the floor. Relax the head to the side, bend the legs up, just roll around those ankles. Go back around the other way. And then take the hands beside the chest, gently lift, come up into, just rest back into a child's pose. Soften through the spine, hands can be under the head, or you can take the arms out long. Feel the tail reach out behind you. Just take a few breaths here. Relax the armpits, the shoulders. And then breathing in, just come all the way up to sitting. Slide the legs out long. We'll just do a forward fold to finish. So reach out through the soles of the feet. Bring the arms out. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, start to scoop in the belly. Feel the bottom ribs press back. And just round over through the upper spine. Shoulders stay down away from the ears. Take a breath in here. And then use the abdominals and the ribs to stack the spine back up. We'll do one more. Take a breath in. Start to scoop in the belly. Bottom ribs sink in. Round over. Pause to take